everyone, Ted and I are back to talk about the garden and how it's been going. It's been about a month since I showed you the setup video and explained how to do all the different soil mixtures and what seeds I was planting, and I thought I would give you a tour and really show you what's changed and what's come along and what succeeded and what failed. So let's begin the tour. So the first thing I really wanted to talk about was my lettuce, which has gotten massive. Each leaf is now about the size of my hand, which is pretty cool, honestly. I'm really excited. It still has maybe another month before harvest time. If you remember, I had two varieties of lettuce. One was the mesclun lettuce, which is just a variety of different colors, and then just a standard lettuce, which is what this huge one is. And I've been really impressed. This one's doing better than all the others. I think I should have thinned them out a bit more, but I panicked. Next, you'll see the beans, or peas behind it. Sorry, the peas. They've just started getting their flowers, which I'm super excited about. Training them to grow up has been kind of a pain in the butt. They keep trying to grow onto each other, which is fine, but I also want them to go up the lattice work. So those should be going well soon. Here you can see that Ted is so much smaller. He, I'm sure, is very excited to eat some of this. The beets are doing excellent. They have gotten really big as well. They still have, again, about a month before they're ready to harvest. I was doing the square foot gardening method in these, and with the square foot gardening method for a foot, which is what the beets are in, you can get 9, and only, I would say, 6 came up. So I had to replant 3. So you'll see there are a couple little seedlings hidden in amongst. And then the carrots are also doing excellent. They too, you can fit 16 per square foot. Here you can see maybe that they're a little overpacked. Again, I probably should have thinned it out more, but I was nervous about over thinning. There were a few that needed to be replanted as well, but they seem to be doing well. I know that the ones that are really packed in tight here, the carrots are probably not going to be as big, and they're probably going to get really tangled up in each other. But I don't think that will be too big an issue. I'm not really looking for pretty store-worthy carrots. I'm looking for tasty carrots, and ugly carrots taste the same as pretty carrots. So my biggest failure so far has been the cucumbers, which you may notice are way smaller than the beans and everything else, and that's because I had to replant them. There was a cold snap after I planted, and I had to reseed them all, and they're doing better now. They're still in there a little tight, and there's some really tiny ones like this one that don't really want to come up, but it's going better. I'm glad that they are growing. The summer squash that I planted is huge. I'm very excited. I thought it wasn't going well for a while because it didn't seem to be growing, and then almost overnight it exploded. So again, huge leaves. Everything's really green and happy looking. The stalks are really thick. I replanted 2 just because, again, I didn't think it was going anywhere. This pot, you may remember, also had marigolds in it. The marigold has been eaten by something. I don't know what. But yeah, as long as it's only the marigold getting eaten, though, I'm not really going to complain about it. Luckily, everything else has been pretty nibble-free. I did find a caterpillar on the lettuce when I first started growing them, but I haven't seen any bite marks or caterpillar since. Some flowers sometime soon. I'm not really sure what mix of flowers these are. I can't identify them yet, but I just got a packet of wildflower seeds. My hope was that to really encourage bees to come and pollinate all the plants. I have seen some bees around. I saw a bee on the bean plant, or the pea plant earlier. I don't know why I keep wanting to call them beans. My sweet peas are also growing up. They're having a hard time staying or really hooking on to the trellis I made for them. So for those, I will more than likely add a really light zip tie around them just to encourage them to continue growing up. Now there is a new addition, which is this peach tree. It is a mini peach tree, and by mini I mean it's probably at its highest going to grow 6 feet tall. Right now I'd say it's about 2.5 to 3 feet tall. And it's in a pot that we had that needed way more drainage. Ted is sniffing on my lettuce. And the reason I had a peach tree before, which I will go over in a little bit, but this one, I really liked it. It was older, more mature, and more developed. And it seems to be really happy in this pot now that I have drainage for it. Honestly, I'll only keep it in this pot maybe for a couple of years before it either needs to be transferred into an even bigger pot or into the ground. So let's look on to the rest of the garden. I really killed all of the basil, so I had to get a new plant, which is doing really, really well. It's really healthy. Again, I haven't seen any beetles on it yet. I normally get these Japanese beetles that destroy my basil. I haven't seen them yet, but I was reading about traps you can either make or traps you can buy that will kill the beetles. So if I start seeing evidence of that, I will be killing the beetles. The chives, as always, are doing great. You don't have to do anything. They take care of themselves. I really should start harvesting the seeds. I'm sure those are ready to come out of the dried flowers. The tomato plant is doing great. There are several areas where there are going to be flowers all over the plant. So we should have a lot of tomatoes this year, which I'm tremendously excited about. I hate tomatoes, but I love tomato plants. I know that's weird. All right. There is literally no green on it. It doesn't look any different. It has been 6 weeks since I planted it, and from what I'm reading, it should take 68 weeks for it to show signs of life, unless you use fertilizer, in which case it could take a little bit longer. I added fertilizer. I did the scratch test, which I'll go over here. It's when you just lightly, let's see if I could focus. You lightly scratch the bark, and if you see green under it, that green tells you that the tree is still alive. So this is alive, but it's just not waking up from dormancy yet, which we'll see if that can be fixed. Now my strawberries have been really hit or miss. You can see I have one growing right there. There's actually a lot growing all around, which I'm excited about, but it seems to be that a lot of squirrels will get them before I can get to them. So I've actually only been able to eat 2 so far, which is not a lot. The sage is doing really well. My mint has exploded, and so has the thyme. So I'm really excited about that. I'm actually going to be using some of the thyme in my dinner tonight. I'm really excited. I love using things that I grow in my garden, and I love eating it. So it just tastes better. It just tastes fresher. And eventually I will make some mojitos with all the mint. And then I want to show you the berry bushes. You'll notice that there's something a little bit different with the berries, which is they have these huge cages over them. And that's by design. I've noticed that the squirrels and birds have really been eating my strawberries. So I built these wire cages that can easily be lifted up to really protect the berries. I actually am just noticing this today, a lot of new growth, which is excellent because I did break one of these branches by accident while building the cage. As you can see, lots of berries coming in, and some of them are even starting to turn color and turn darker. So I'm very excited about that. The raspberry plant has really grown up and exploded, although it has not gotten any berries on it yet. It's really just a green plant right now with thorns all over it. So hopefully I'll start seeing signs of berries soon. I actually don't know if this cage will be able to contain it. It's already pretty close to the top. It might be something I just have to let the birds have. So, right, now that you've gotten a tour of the garden and got to see all the lettuce and peas and everything all over again, I wanted to talk about why I think I had successes and why I think I had failures. I'll deal with the failures first because I feel like that is a much easier thing to talk about. For starters, there was another cold snap. So it was probably 60 to 65 degrees when I actually planted everything, and then it dropped back down to 40 for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And that's what killed the basil, and that's what killed the cucumbers. And I think that's another reason why the little peach tree out in the yard is having a harder time waking up from dormancy, is because it got a signal that it was still cold out, and it's not cold out. Right now it's about 85 degrees. The other reason I think I may have had some failure is, other than the peach tree, everything else was planted from seeds, and there's just a much higher possibility that things won't survive when you plant them from seeds. There could be something wrong with the seed, they could get moldy in the ground, they could not be hardened off properly if you start a seedling indoors and bring it out. So I think those were all reasons why I may have had some failures. As for successes, I really recommend reading the Square Foot Gardening Method. There's also tons of videos on YouTube about it. And what that does is it really talks about how to get the most out of the space you have. So you'll hear a lot about like Mel's Mix, which is the soil I used, which is a combination of peat moss or coconut fiber, coconut mulch, a mix of that, vermiculite, and compost. Compost has been hugely important to my garden. Every pot that has compost in it is doing, I would say, 100% better than every pot that has no compost in it. Also, the garden beds I'm using, the city pickers I got, the reason why I think I'm having so much success growing in these is because they are wick watering, which means they suck the water up from the bottom and bring it up to the plants. So here, let's see if we can get a shot. There are these little hidden tubes in each one, these little black tubes, and what those do is you water them from there. So you'll add you'll take your hose and you'll just fill it up, and there are these little gashes on the side, and once water is overflowing from those, you know you have the right amount of water, which is about 2 gallons per container when you're just filling it up for the first time. Sometimes, like on really hot days like today, it might need more water. I try to water them in about an hour after sundown, just to make sure that the water isn't evaporating too quickly. I might, on really hot days, like take a mist setting on my hose or a spray bottle and just give them a spray down so they don't get burnt or dried out. So I still have some time before I water them today. What else? What has been successful? Composting, I mentioned, wicking, also just diligence. I was out of town for a couple of weeks, but they got lots of water and they were still young enough where they were hardening off. I was really surprised with their growth in those 2 weeks, and then from looking those 2 weeks to now, it's a totally different garden. Like, this lettuce plant is bigger than my head, and I have a rather large head, so I'm really excited to see where it goes. One of my favorite things to do is Google photos of like farmers with gigantic foods, and I know I'll never be as happy as an old man with a giant turnip, but I can certainly try. Yeah, so I would say for sure it's about being diligent and making sure you water. Even though I am not watering them all the time, I do come out, I would say, about 3 times a day. I like before breakfast, I come out and just, because it's a small yard and a small garden, it's really easy for me to just walk around and check on everything. And then in the afternoon I'll check, so around now it's about 3:30, and then in the evening when I do the watering. And when I say check it out, it's real quick. It takes me 10 minutes tops to do. I just make sure there are no caterpillars or bugs on the plants. I make sure if it's not overly dry. You can tell if the top of the soil is super dry, then you might want to give it some. Luckily the plants have gotten so big and shady that they're even helping insulate the soil so things don't evaporate too quickly, which is great. And then it's patience. I really want to pull those carrots out. I want to eat a carrot from my garden. I want to eat a beet from my garden, but I know they have another month before they're ready. So it's really about studying the product, really following the guidelines, and sometimes you just have to go with your gut on when things are ready or not. I know those carrots aren't ready. I want them to be with every fiber of my being, but they're not ready yet. But I can still harvest basil whenever I want. I can harvest the mint, and I can harvest the thyme, which I'm going to use tonight, whenever I want. So I think part of it is being patient as well, which I am terrible at. I'm terrible at being patient. And then I'm also thinking of planting pumpkins, because once these lettuces are ready to harvest, there's going to be a bare space. I would have time and the space to grow a pumpkin plant, and I've always wanted to grow pumpkins from seeds. I really realistically would only be able to get one plant in there, maybe two. Luckily the carrots, after I pulled them, I could plant more carrots. I think I could do a 2-season with the beets as well, but I might mix it up a little. I'm already planning what I'm going to plant next year, so I have some pak choi seeds that I'm really excited about to do stir fry with. And I also think it's really important to plant things you like to eat and things you like to look at and things you like to grow. I mentioned that I don't like tomatoes. I don't. I think they're disgusting. I think the plants smell beautiful. I think the tomato itself is gross. I think ketchup is gross. I know I'm a monster, but my family likes them, so I grow it for my family. And there is something really exciting about picking a fruit or vegetable off the vine and being able to use it. Yeah, so I think that's all I really had to say about gardening. Hopefully I can edit this video slightly better. I'm slightly, well, I was gonna say slightly underdressed, but it's just I don't have the same lipstick on as I had last time. Yeah, so those are my gardening tips. That's how it's progressing. Next time you see me, maybe I'll be making a video about harvesting, which would be so exciting. Yeah, all right, there we go.